Oh hey, it's Wes, and today it's time to talk about the Godox AD600 Pro. Kaboom! First, we'll talk about what's in the box. I ordered mine from a Canadian retailer after having canceled my pre-order at Adorama to save 50 bucks. And unfortunately, that meant all I got was a box with some styrofoam and an AD600 Pro. If you order yours from Adorama, you get a box with a carry case and you get a handle to mount on the bottom of your AD600 Pro. Don't make the mistake I did. Get the real thing. That was definitely not an ad for my local Canadian retailer. So anyway, let's start off with the build quality. Godox has definitely stepped up their game with the build quality of this unit. The plastics feel stronger, the unit itself is clearly better designed. The screen on the side is a lovely blue-white color, so clearly that's high quality. The locking hinge on the side here is entirely linear, allowing you to lock it in any position you want, and then you can reposition the handle wherever you want. That's pretty awesome. So if this is in the way, you can always move it around. Godox did a lot of work on this new unit, and the bulb itself is also an entirely new design. Much wider, larger, and designed to spread light around within a softbox much more effectively. The old one was just a round bulb that spread light everywhere. This one sends it to the sides to level out where everything's going inside the softbox. Under the bulb, you'll see the LED, which is also redesigned and very powerful. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Battery on the back, has a power meter, charging, and got lots of buttons and a turn wheel on the side. Build quality is pretty great, but the plastics themselves aren't the highest quality. It's clearly a lower priced model, but it's also clearly a very well designed lower priced model. And then there is the new built-in reflector, which is much more compact, fits in a bag very well, and is actually quite effective at casting light in a reasonably uniform beam. I really like it. Hold on. I'm gonna let you finish, Wes. But first, I feel like I have an obligation to be fully honest. Since the day that I recorded the AD600 review, just since I started editing it, I had a photo shoot which, for the first time, my AD600 failed on me. Now, it wasn't until after the shoot, but during the shoot, this got a tiny bit of snow on it. Now, I say a very small amount, a tiny bit, because it wasn't what we would call snowing that day. It just happens to be winter in Canada, and sometimes crystallized water falls from the sky in very small amounts, pretty much all the time. And after the shoot, I could no longer power on my AD600. This was disconcerting, as it had never outright failed on me before. After some fiddling around, I determined that the power button was what wasn't working. Must have gotten a little bit of moisture in it. Probably from being carried upside down. Honestly, upon first opening the AD600, that was one of the things I didn't quite like about it. Something that I do like about a lot of Godox products is the power switch is actually a physical on-off switch. I love that about the X1T, I love that about the X Pro, V860, the AD200, it's just a switch. Nothing to go wrong, you turn it off, you turn it on. This one is actually more of a soft button, and it didn't work very well when it was damp apparently. Thankfully, during the next photo shoot I had, I managed to get this to power on, couldn't turn it off, because again, the button wasn't working, and it was being used as an LED light source. I'll show you some samples here. Also, side note, as with a lot of my reviews, in the description below there's going to be a link to a blog post where you can see much larger, clearer, crisper versions of all of these images that I've been showing you for your viewing pleasure. At this shoot, I was using it as an LED light, got very hot, sustained hot for quite a while, and it seems to have dried itself out immediately after the shoot. Power button, back to normal. Thank you. Which brings up the question, how much do we expect for outdoor durability with these things? Well, before you call me an idiot, although I may very well be one, I would like to direct your attention to the box. On the box you can see it is the AD600 Pro all-in-one outdoor flash. at least in Canada, being outdoors means being cold much of the year and having a little bit of precipitation much of the year. Now, I have been very careful with this in the past. I keep very large freezer bags on me at all times when I'm using this, in case out of the blue it starts raining. I just didn't think about it that day, because I just had a few little snowflakes on it. So, take that as you will. Let that information process, but I'm going to be docking an extra point off of this guy for build quality, and I can't take too much off of it because there are clearly vent holes in this. It's obviously not designed to be weatherproof, but it could definitely stand to be a little bit hardier in that regard. So build quality down to 7 out of 10. Moving on. Next up is light quality, and that is where this light shines. Shines. So anyway, there's nothing to worry about with light quality on this thing. For the price, you have very stable color, you have very consistent brightness, you have great refire rates. The LED has very high quality light and is extremely bright. This thing, all things considered, gets a 10 out of 10 for light quality. Feature set, and this is where Godox stepped up a little bit on this too. You've got power levels that change from 1/256 all the way up to 1:1 at 600 watt seconds. You have a Bowens mount, which is easy to find adapters, reflectors, modifiers for. And if you get an X Pro controller, it opens up a lot of options like manually figuring out what your TTL exposure was and controlling the LED from a distance. Lots of different options when you get the Godox controller for this. The menu system on the side here, although they have a huge screen and lots of buttons, I honestly don't find the menu system to be, well, it's not revolutionary. It's clearly very old-fashioned, kind of a 90s design. I feel like they could have put some soft keys on the sides of the screen to make this much more versatile and actually end up with less buttons overall. It's still good, it's not fantastic. One of the main features of this light is the new battery. How is that much of a feature? Because it has less capacity, you say. Well, technically yes. It's only rated for 360 shots on a charge, which on the surface doesn't seem like an awful lot, but the advantage of this battery is it's running at a higher voltage. It's a 28.8 volt battery. That's much higher than before. So what does that give us? It is able to recharge its capacitors much faster with that higher voltage. So you get a faster cycle time, 0.9 seconds at 1:1. That's phenomenal, and that is the main reason why I purchased this unit. I typically use this somewhere between 1.2 or 1.1, so I am firing this at max power a lot. We're talking 1/8,000th of a second, high speed sync, high noon, uncontrolled environments. That is what this light is for me. So I need that performance at 1:1. One of the other features of having a higher voltage battery is you can charge this battery faster. So when I drain this battery, you can usually refill it in about an hour tops. Normally I don't even drain it all the way, so this thing is recharged in 20 to 30 minutes. That is convenient for me, especially since this is the only battery I have for this, because these batteries are so expensive. Later on I'll talk about the value for this. Thankfully for them, I'm not talking about the value of this battery. I feel like Godox could charge a little bit less for this battery. I'd like to have a few of them kicking around, although I've not had any need for them. I have other backup flash units like the AD600 with an AD600 that's almost as bright as this if this fails, which it never has after dozens of weddings. This light has other features to bring it into the professional market. We're talking about a color stable mode, which honestly, unless you're doing highly color critical work, is almost redundant because this is already very stable on its own. And there's also a faster flash options, which I haven't gotten into yet myself. That's a more niche thing as well. But again, lots of options for professional use in this. They stepped up their game. Overall, I'm going to say the feature set of this, 9 out of 10. Last, value. And this is where Godox tends to punch above their weight class. But all of a sudden, moving into a professional market, are they still offering the same value? And that is where things get interesting in here. Compared to their other company competitors, this is a phenomenal value. But compared to their own products, it actually stumbles a little bit. So this guy here can be had for about 900 bucks. That sounds expensive until you take into account that the Profoto B1, which competes directly with this, or rather, this competes directly with that. I don't think Profoto worries too much about Godox, but they should. Costs $2,100, more than twice as much as this. Now, I know what you're saying, or some of you are saying. Godox, their warranty's terrible. Well, as I said before, buy this from Adorama, buy this from a reputable seller, so that they can handle the warranty work for you. If you buy this from some random person in China, no, you're not going to get good service for this, and that is what you are not paying for when you buy Godox. You're not paying for warranty service, unless you get it from a good, reputable reseller. So, do that and you will be taken care of. Back to value. Godox's other flashes, such as the AD600, the old one, that's about $550, and on sale it goes for even less than that. And it has the same power as this flash. Then there's the AD600 TTL version, $750. Again, that's goes on sale too, $150 or more less than this flash unit. So, why would you buy this when you can buy those with the same amount of power output? Again, it goes back to the professional features and the recycle time, and for me, it is all about that recycle time. I do a lot of run and gun photography, my assistant has this with a light modifier, we head out into the woods, we've got 35 minutes to do portraits with the bride and groom, it's 1 p.m., the sun is beating down, everyone's sweating, we need to get this through, I need this to fire fast, I need it to fire powerfully. Some people might take two AD600s and combine them with the 1200 watt second combiner. That's just too much weight. I don't want to carry that myself, I don't want my assistants to carry that. This one I find is just the peak of balance and power. Now, talking about balance and power, a little extra on this. This thing will overheat. If you're firing at 1:1, it is going to have some trouble eventually. Especially on days where it's like 30, 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know what it's in Fahrenheit. I'll put it up here. This thing's gonna overheat, the fan's gonna kick in. It does the same thing when you crank up the LEDs. It's gonna make a little bit of noise when it's struggling, because this is a compact little unit and it gets hot in there. Once you fire it at 1:1 for a little while, even if it's not that hot out, it's gonna start slowing down and overheating. And then that brings us back to professional use. We need things that work all the time. Because if I'm out there and I've got one shot to get, and this has overheated, and it's been 4.5 minutes since it's overheated and it's still not firing, yes, this has happened, and I'm looking at you and I'm not happy with you from when that. So anyway, you got your couple standing up on a tank and the sun is setting just right, you got your 16 to 35 G master flaring a beautiful sun star, and you just need this flash to fire one more time. You can take the battery off and then put it back on, and it resets the thermals. I'm not really sure why. You'd think that there would be a thermometer in there that's telling it why it's not firing, but anyway, take the battery off, put it back on, and get your shot. Do not take the battery off and put it back on and get a bunch more shots, because you will probably melt this down completely, because it is trying to save you the hassle of having a destroyed unit. I have actually never run the battery out on this before. I have had some long shoots, some long days, and somehow I've always come out with just a little bit of battery left. I know, I need to get a second battery. Sometimes I charge it in my car. I shouldn't be doing that. I need to get a second battery. They're so expensive! Here's the price right here. Wow, I went way off on a tangent there. Back to value. If this existed in a vacuum as its own product, competing against lights like the Profoto B1, this would be an easy 10 out of 10. But competing against its own company's products, it's an 8 out of 10. Still high value, but there are other things that will give you just a little more bang for your buck. Where does that leave us? We tally that all up, we got 34 out of 40. What does that mean? I don't know, but I love this flash unit. It's one of my best friends. Obviously I don't have a lot of friends, but this does not let me down, and I won't let you down. More videos coming out, probably weekly, unless I get laryngitis again. That's why I'm kind of scratchy. So, until next time. Go take some photos. ADB2.